Hi there, I'm Marcy. It happened at my sister's birthday. I found out $9,300 was missing from a locked drawer in my room. They didn't deny it. They laughed, said I could afford it. But that wasn't the worst part. Worse was realizing how long they'd been using me, signing my name on loans, stealing money behind my back, while calling it family help. Now they're broke, and I'm the one picking up the pieces of my bank account and my trust. The moment I stepped out of my car and onto the gravel driveway of the rental cabin in Colorado Springs, something felt off. The air wasn't cold, but there was a sting to it. Maybe it was the way my sister's kids were shrieking before I even made it to the porch. Or maybe it was Leonard's voice, already slurred, shouting something from the backyard like it was his house. I took a deep breath, adjusted my purse strap, and grabbed my small travel bag from the back seat. Jared couldn't make it. A last-minute case had pulled him into the office all weekend. I told him I'd be fine. It's just one night with family, I'd said, but my gut had known better. Inside, chaos reigned. Toys were scattered across the floor. Someone had burned something in the kitchen, maybe garlic bread, and Rosalind, our mother, was already flitting around the living room in that tight smile she always wore when pretending everything was perfect. "Marcy!" she called with fake cheer, pulling me into a one-armed hug, careful not to spill her wine. "You made it just in time. We're about to bring out the cake." I didn't care about the cake. I didn't come for balloons or candles or Darlene's faux gratitude. I came because I told myself I could handle them this time, that I'd grown enough spine over the years to not let their words cut as deep. After a few pleasantries, I made my way upstairs to the guest room and locked the door behind me. I opened my briefcase, took out a white envelope, and placed it inside the top drawer of the desk, which had a small metal lock. It wasn't Fort Knox, but it was better than nothing. That envelope held $9,300 in cash, my portion of a down payment Jared and I were planning to use for a real estate investment. I didn't want it in the bank just yet, not until we finalized paperwork. I double-checked the lock, pulled on the drawer gently. It held. Then I exhaled. Downstairs, laughter erupted over a game of charades. I could hear Darlene's voice dominating the room as usual. She always had a way of making everything orbit around her, even if it was just her birthday. I washed up, joined them for dinner, and smiled through conversations I didn't care about. We talked about the weather, someone's diet, and how expensive gas was. No one asked how my job was going or how I was feeling lately. That would have been too much like caring. The night wore on. Darlene unwrapped her gifts with performative surprise. Leonard kissed her cheek, handed her an envelope, and whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, "You deserve the world, babe." I kept my mouth shut. When I finally slipped back into the guest room, it was past midnight. I locked the door again, crawled into bed, and tried not to think too hard about how disconnected I felt from everyone in that house. Family was supposed to feel like home. Instead, I felt like a tenant overstaying my welcome. The next morning, I woke up early, habit from work. I stretched, yawned, and reached for my toiletry bag. That's when I noticed something was wrong. The drawer. It was slightly ajar. My heart stalled. I knelt down. The lock was broken, split clean where the metal met the frame. The envelope was gone. I stood frozen, staring at the cracked lock like it would rewind time if I looked hard enough. No, 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 no. I yanked the drawer open, empty. I shoved my hands into the back, thinking maybe, just maybe, it had fallen behind. But there was nothing. My pulse thundered. My mind raced. I rushed downstairs, barely aware of how tight my grip was on the railing. They were all gathered in the kitchen, laughing over eggs and pancakes like we were the cast of some damn sitcom. "Who was in my room?" I demanded, my voice cutting through the room like a slap. The laughter stopped. Darlene looked up with a mouthful of toast. "Good morning to you, too. My drawer was broken into, $9,000. Gone." Leonard chuckled. Oh, that. Oh, that? I needed to pay off some stuff, he said casually, like he'd borrowed a pen. "We figured you'd understand." "You what?" My throat went dry. Darlene raised a brow. "Relax, Marcy. You always have money. It's not like you're hurting. Leonard's been drowning in debt. This helps us out." This wasn't a loan. I said, trying to keep my voice from cracking. You stole it. We didn't steal anything, she snapped. You left cash lying around. In a drawer, in a house full of family. What did you think would happen? I locked it. Leonard shrugged. Wasn't a good lock. You broke into it. Darlene rolled her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. You don't have kids. You don't pay for daycare, school supplies, doctor bills. You're living some solo glam life. It's time you shared the load. I stared at her, heart pounding. Her words didn't just justify theft. They rewrote reality, where my success meant I owed them, where boundaries didn't apply if someone called you family. No one said a word in my defense. Not Rosalind, not Clayton, not even the kids, who were too busy fighting over cereal. I sat at the table, stunned. My coffee went cold in front of me. They laughed. Darlene joked about her birthday party being perfect. Leonard kissed her again, like they hadn't just violated me. And all I could think was, if they did this once, they'll do it again. They already believed they had the right. And maybe they always did. I didn't touch my breakfast. I just sat there, numb, as Darlene laughed like she'd won something. Maybe she had. She took what she wanted, and no one blinked. The cabin felt smaller that morning, like the air had been sucked out of every room. Every time someone said family, it scraped like sandpaper across my skin. Later, when most of them scattered to the backyard, I cornered my mother in the kitchen. She was wiping down the counter like it was any other Sunday. The dish rag moved in slow, circular strokes, so casual it made me angrier. Mom, I said quietly, do you understand what just happened? They took $9,000 from me. She didn't stop wiping. Don't make a scene, Marcy. I stared at her. I'm not making a scene. I'm telling you I was robbed. Rosalind finally looked up, her face calm but condescending. Oh, come on, you've always been dramatic. It's not like they spent it on drugs. It was for the family. The family? I echoed. You don't have children. You don't pay rent with someone else's needs in mind. You live alone. You make more money than anyone here. So yes, maybe it's time you helped in a real way. I took a step back, stunned. That was my investment money. Jared and I have been saving for months. That's not extra. That's mine. And they're your blood, she said sharply. You think some stranger would ever take care of you like your sister has? You think if things ever went south, Darlene wouldn't open her home to you? I wanted to laugh. Darlene wouldn't even share the TV remote growing up. You're acting superior again, Rosalind continued. That's your problem. Always looking down your nose because you made it out. Because you got that fancy job and a boyfriend with a briefcase. I swallowed hard. It's not about being better. It's about basic respect. Respect? She scoffed. You barely call unless it's Christmas or someone's sick. My voice dropped to a whisper. Maybe because every time I do, someone needs money. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. How dare you? I walked away. Outside, the sounds of children playing and Leonard yelling over a grill floated through the open window. It was surreal, like the theft had only happened in my head, like I was the crazy one for still caring. I needed air. By late afternoon, I was sitting under the deck, near the patch of trees that lined the back of the cabin. That's when Clayton came over. My younger brother, the only one in this family who hadn't learned to weaponize guilt. He lowered himself onto the log beside me. They shouldn't have done that. I didn't respond. He hesitated, then added, It's not the first time. I turned to him. What do you mean? He ran a hand through his hair. Sometimes Darlene asks Mom to borrow money, except she doesn't ask you. She asks through Mom. And Mom always says yes. Then later she says it was your idea, that you offered. My stomach sank. She did that when you got your first bonus, he added. Remember when you bought the new sofa for Mom's living room? Darlene picked it, and Mom told us you insisted, that you wanted to help because you felt guilty for not visiting more. I remembered that conversation. I'd just gotten promoted. I wanted to give something thoughtful. I hadn't realized I'd just been a convenient bank. How many times? I asked. Clayton shrugged. Enough. I nodded slowly. And no one thought to tell me? Mom said not to stir the pot, said you'd just get mad. I stood up. She was right. That night we sat around the dinner table again. This time no one brought up the stolen money. It was like it had vanished along with my dignity. Darlene was laughing too loud. Leonard was on his third beer. Rosalind talked about church bake sales like she hadn't just defended breaking into my room. At one point, she raised her glass. To strong families, we forgive, we forget, and we keep each other afloat. I looked around. No one met my eyes. I was there, but I wasn't one of them. After dinner, I stepped outside onto the porch. The sun was fading behind the hills, leaving streaks of burnt orange across the sky. I sat down on the steps, my arms wrapped around my knees, the weight of everything pressing in from all sides. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't make a scene. I pulled out my phone, opened the Notes app, and typed just one sentence. Just because it's family doesn't mean it's right. Then I locked my screen, slid the phone into my pocket, and stared into the trees. They thought they were teaching me a lesson, but they were the ones about to learn. I didn't sleep that night. After sitting on the porch until my legs went numb from the chill, I returned to the guest room and stared at the ceiling for hours. My body was still, but my mind spun like it was caught in a storm of past conversations, tone-deaf justifications, and quiet moments I'd once brushed off as just how our family is. Sometime near dawn, I closed my eyes, but I didn't drift off. Instead, something long buried cracked open. A memory. I was 17 again, standing in our old kitchen arguing with Rosalind about college. She had her arms crossed, leaning against the fridge like a warden guarding her turf. "You don't need to go out of state," she'd said with finality. "That's just asking for trouble. Girls don't need degrees to matter." I had pleaded. I'd been accepted into a university in Oregon, partial scholarship, great program. It had felt like freedom wrapped in an envelope. "I'm not going to waste money just so you can party and forget where you came from," she snapped. "You'll end up back here anyway, helping me with the others." The others being Darlene, who was already in and out of jobs, and Clayton, still a sophomore in high school. I was the reliable one, the one who picked up extra shifts, the one who filled out FAFSA forms by herself and photocopied textbooks at the library. Eventually, I stayed local. I told my friends it was for the in-state tuition. Truth was, I was guilted into staying, and too tired to fight harder. That morning, as light filtered in through the blinds, I sat up and grabbed my phone. The screen glared back at me like it knew the truth I'd ignored for years. I scrolled through the note I'd typed the night before. Just because it's family doesn't mean it's right. Then I opened another folder, an old one, titled simply, "Owe You." It was where I used to jot down reminders of things I'd agreed to pay for, usually after late-night calls or tearful texts. I hadn't looked at it in years. March 2018, $600 for Darlene's dentist. She said Leonard's check bounced. July 2019, $200 gas money for mom. She said, "God will repay you." December 2020, $1,500, Leonard's car broke down. Darlene said it's either this or he can't work. Each entry read like an invoice I'd never sent. I didn't want reimbursement. I wanted acknowledgement. Even once, a thank you that didn't sound like a sigh. As I scrolled, the screen blurred for a second, not from tears, but from exhaustion. Just before I locked my phone, Clayton knocked softly on the door. "Hey," he said. "Got a minute?" I nodded and motioned him in. He stepped in like a kid again, awkward and unsure. "I've been thinking about what we talked about yesterday," he started, eyes fixed on the rug. "There's something else you should probably know." I waited. "Remember back when I was 21, right before I moved out?" he asked. "Yeah?" "Well, Darlene and Mom, they asked me to co-sign a loan, said it was for Darlene's car insurance or some nonsense. But when I got there, the paperwork had your name on it. I asked why, and Mom said it would have built your credit if I just signed and said it was for you." My breath caught. "You signed it?" He nodded. "I didn't know any better. They told me not to tell you, that it was a surprise help thing. But I always felt weird about it." "You put my name on a payday loan?" I whispered. He winced. "Yeah, I'm sorry, Marcy. I was a dumb kid, and they made it sound harmless. I didn't even see the money, just signed what they handed me." My mouth went dry. That explained the strange bank notices I got back then. I thought it was a clerical error. I spent hours on the phone trying to correct what I thought was some mix-up, but it had been them. Again. I should have said something, he murmured. I didn't want to get between you and Mom. You were already between us, I said, but without venom. They used you. He sank into the chair across from me, ashamed. I never knew how much they took from you. They didn't just take money, I replied. They took choices. That night, when the cabin fell silent again, I stayed up writing. Not work emails, not grocery lists. I opened that old note folder and created a new page. At the top, I wrote, "No more guilt, no more silence, no more pretending this is normal." I listed every incident I could remember, not for revenge, but for clarity. I needed to see the shape of what I'd been trained to accept. As the moonlight spilled across the carpet, I finally felt my heartbeat slow. My hands didn't shake anymore. I wasn't just hurt, I was awake. I spent the morning sitting on the edge of the bed, watching sunbeams creep across the carpet. The stillness wasn't peaceful. It was loaded. Every sound from the hallway made my skin tighten. Every voice outside the window reminded me of what had been taken, and how no one cared. I needed perspective. I needed Jared. I stepped out onto the back deck and dialed him. The signal was spotty, but his voice came through, grounding me like always. "What's wrong?" he asked, instantly picking up the tone in my silence. "I have to tell you something," I said. And then I did. I laid it out, Darlene's theft, Leonard's smugness, Rosalind's manipulation, Clayton's confession, and the loan, my name, my signature. For the first time in days, I heard nothing on the other end. Then Jared's voice dropped low, calm, controlled, but ice cold. "They committed fraud, Marcy." "I know," I said. "No, you need to hear it from me. This isn't just a messed up family moment. This is bank fraud, identity misuse, unauthorized access. You have every right to report it." "But it's my family," I said, more out of reflex than reason. Jared didn't waver. "Exactly. And that's what makes it worse. They knew you'd hesitate, they counted on it." I swallowed hard, feeling shame shift into something firmer. "What do I do?" "You document everything," he said. "Start now. Every screenshot, every transfer, every signature. If anything looks off, flag it. You're not imagining this." I hung up and didn't move for several minutes. My hands weren't shaking. They were steady, like I'd finally picked a direction. Inside, I pulled out my laptop, sat cross-legged on the bed, and logged into my bank portal. I scrolled through transactions, toggled between tabs, checked archived PDFs. My eyes caught a file labeled Authorization Request, August 2022. I clicked it open. The form was filled out in my name, my address, my phone number. The signature at the bottom looked familiar, but something about the slope of the M was wrong. I tilted the screen. I'd signed hundreds of things in my life, but not that. I took a screenshot and texted it to Jared. "Does this look like me?" His response came fast. "Not even close. This is forged. Marcy, that's a felony." That word stuck. Felony. Not mistake. Not misunderstanding. Not even crossed a line. Felony. I kept digging. I found 2 more documents where someone had filled out information in my name. One even had an outdated phone number I hadn't used in years. They weren't even careful. They didn't have to be. They knew I'd never check. But the most sickening thing came from somewhere unexpected, an old group chat buried beneath months of happy birthday gifs and memes. Scrolling through, I found a voice memo. It was dated last year. I nearly skipped it, but curiosity pulled me in. I pressed play. Darlene's voice came through first, giggling. "If she ever finds out, she'll freak. But hey, it's not like she's gonna sue her own sister." Then Leonard chimed in. "Exactly, she's soft. She'll huff and puff, then move on. She always does." The audio cut off there, but my stomach had already turned. It wasn't just betrayal, it was mockery. They knew they were hurting me. They thought it was funny. I forwarded the memo to Jared, along with the forged forms. I didn't need his legal opinion this time. I knew what it was. By noon, I'd printed every piece of documentation I had. PDFs, screenshots, even emails I once brushed off. I slid them into a folder, labeled it in thick red marker, "Family Fraud, Do Not Ignore." I packed quietly, a few essentials, the folder, my dignity. That was enough. I booked a hotel in Denver and planned to leave before sunset. As I zipped up my suitcase, I opened my journal and wrote the first real declaration I'd ever allowed myself to believe. If they wanted a battle, they just got one. By late afternoon, the sky had dulled to a flat gray, the kind that made it impossible to tell what time it really was. Clouds sagged over the hills like a lid tightening on a pot ready to boil. I zipped up my overnight bag one last time and left it by the door, tucked behind the coat rack, just in case. I found Darlene alone in the kitchen, scrolling her phone and eating the last of the birthday cake straight from the box. I didn't ease into it. "I want it back," I said. My voice was low, steady. "All of it. The full 9,300. You have until tonight." She froze with the fork halfway to her mouth, then smirked. "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise," I replied. Her eyes didn't blink. She shoved the cake into her mouth, chewed deliberately, then sighed dramatically like I was ruining her day. "I don't have it. We needed it, Marcy. Leonard's job's been up and down. The kids—" I raised a hand. "Save it. Either you return the money or I go to the police." Darlene's entire demeanor cracked like cheap porcelain. Her face twisted, and suddenly she was trembling, backing into the counter like I'd pulled a knife. "You'd do that to me? Your own sister? You did this to yourself." She collapsed onto the bar stool and burst into sobs, loud, ugly sobs that sounded rehearsed. "I'll kill myself if you go through with this," she wailed. "Is that what you want?" I didn't flinch, but inside something flickered. I'd heard this song before, not from her, but from our mother. As if on cue, Rosalind rushed in, eyes wide. "What is going on?" "She's threatening to ruin my life," Darlene screamed. "She wants to send me to jail." Rosalind's hand flew to her chest. "Marcy, look what you're doing to your sister. You know she's fragile." "No," I said flatly. "You know what's fragile? My patience." "You're overreacting. This is family. We help each other. We've always helped each other." "This isn't help. It's theft." Rosalind's voice dropped an octave, turning syrupy and scolding all at once. "You always think you're better than us. Your job, your apartment, your fancy life. I earned those," I snapped, "and you all decided that made me a target." The kitchen fell silent except for Darlene's hiccuped sobs. I stared at both of them, memorizing their faces in that moment, not as loved ones, but as liabilities. "I'm leaving tomorrow. If I don't have the money by the time I walk out that door, the next people you'll hear from will wear badges." I walked out without another word. Later that evening, I stood outside as Leonard grilled burgers in the front yard. A couple neighbors had wandered over, drawn by the smell or the spectacle. I wasn't sure. He was in rare form, laughing too loud and gripping a red Solo cup like it held holy water. "Man, it feels good to finally be caught up," he bragged, flipping a patty with theatrical flair. "Wiped out the credit cards, car payment, even sent a little extra to the electric company. Took some guts, but hey, worth it." One of the neighbors glanced at me. "That true? You helped them out?" I didn't answer, just stared straight ahead. But my jaw clenched, and I felt the heat rising behind my eyes. Not tears, fury. Leonard grinned. "She's shy, but yeah, family steps up, right? We don't all have it easy." Another neighbor raised his beer can. "Lucky man." Lucky. That's what they called it. What they did to me. I went inside and grabbed the folder. I laid everything out on the bed, photos of the drawer, screenshots of the fake signature, the voice memo, even printed texts that looked harmless until you read them in the context of a con. Then I sat down and opened my laptop. Jared's name popped up immediately on the chat app we always used. I typed, "I'm ready." Then I hit send. 15 minutes later, everything had been emailed, subject line bold and simple. "Filing now." I didn't tell anyone else in the house, not about the email, not about the folder, not about the hotel in Denver. They were in the living room again, laughing like nothing had happened. Darlene was on the couch, curled against Leonard like a kitten. Rosalind sat near the fireplace, knitting, humming to herself. I watched them for a full minute before turning toward the stairs. Tomorrow, they'd wake up to find me gone, and with me would go their silence, their leverage, their immunity. Tomorrow, they'd laugh for the last time. Morning light filtered through the blinds of my Denver apartment like a soft warning. This was the beginning of a different kind of war. I poured myself coffee, but I didn't drink it. My appetite was gone. I hadn't slept much after the drive back, but for the first time in weeks, the weight pressing down on my chest felt manageable, controlled, directed. I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop again. No distractions, no excuses. It was time to see how far this rabbit hole really went. The bank portal was slow, but I knew exactly what to search for now. Recurring transfers, deposits, any activity involving a secondary account. I filtered for the last 3 years, heart rate climbing as a string of small yet consistent withdrawals appeared. All marked FAM Fund or Care Transfer, all withdrawn from my personal account. I stared at the screen in disbelief. There was no family fund. I'd never authorized a single one of these. The amounts weren't huge individually, $200 here, $350 there, but together, over $12,000, enough to make someone's car payment, or pay off credit card debt, or control someone silently, one small drip at a time. I cross-referenced the routing numbers. They traced back to an account in my mother's name, Rosalind. I took a photo of the transactions and sent them to Jared. He replied within minutes. These are systematic, long-term misappropriation. This strengthens the fraud case. I leaned back in my chair, numb and furious. She had told me it was grocery money for the grandkids. Once. She never said it was recurring. Never said she set up automatic withdrawals using information she clearly never should have had. She used me like a silent ATM, and I never even heard the beeping. Then Jared sent another message. No words, just an image attachment. I opened it and went cold. Leonard, grinning like he'd won the lottery, posed in front of a chain restaurant in what looked like a staged casual photo. His wrist gleamed, a silver Omega watch, identical to the one Jared gave me last year when I made partner. Same model, same band, same rare engraving. The caption under the post read, "Finally matching the big shots." That watch wasn't in stores. It was part of a limited drop. Jared had to pull strings to find it. I zoomed in. It was my watch. Mine. I had left it at the cabin weeks ago during a spring visit, thinking I misplaced it. I sent the photo to Jared. "Stolen," I wrote. "He's taunting us." He replied, "We escalate." That's exactly what I did. I compiled every record, bank transactions, voice memos, screenshots, photos, and uploaded it all into a secure folder Jared had set up for the Financial Crimes Division. Every page told the same story. This wasn't a mistake. This was a slow, methodical siphoning of trust disguised as support and family. I filed the formal complaint. It was done. And for the first time, I felt powerful. Not because I won, but because I finally stopped pretending to lose. Next, I called a private investigator. I gave them everything I had, asked them to trace older activities, including transactions tied to past tax returns and checks I'd written during college that never matched any receipts. Jared told me to prepare for the long haul. I told him I wasn't going anywhere. That evening, I stood by my window, staring out at the Denver skyline. It was almost beautiful. How far I'd come and how far they'd pushed me. Then I typed out one final message. No flourishes, no explanations. To Darlene, I suggest you talk to a lawyer. I didn't wait for a reply. Instead, I blocked every number in my contacts tied to my family. Rosalind, Darlene, Leonard, even the landline at the old house I grew up in. For the first time in my life, silence was mine. And this time it wasn't weakness. It was a weapon. Jared called me the next morning, his voice tighter than usual. "You might want to check your work email," he said. I was still in my pajamas, sipping lukewarm coffee in my Denver apartment, staring blankly out the window at a city that finally felt like mine. I set the mug down and opened my inbox. Right there, under a fake sender name and throwaway email address, was the subject line. Concerned citizen tip. I clicked. The message was short and poison-tipped. Is your company aware you used client funds for personal travel? Funny how fast things unravel. My stomach didn't drop. Not anymore. I was way past being rattled. I took a screenshot, forwarded it to Jared, and muttered to myself, "Nice try." A few minutes later, Jared called again. "I just got one too. from a blocked number. Said if you don't drop the complaint, I shoulda watched what I let slip about your girl. He paused, voice calm but furious. They're bluffing, Marcy. But it's starting. Of course it was. You don't threaten power and expect silence in return. You corner a family that thrives on control and secrets. They come at you dirty. And that's exactly what they were doing. Jared had his tech guy trace the emails. Encrypted proxies, disposable domains, untraceable but obvious. It screamed Darlene. She didn't need a real plan. She just needed chaos. And she knew where to dig. The next evening, Jared sat across from me at the kitchen island, scrolling through old files. Anything in your past they could twist? Something minor they could blow up? I hadn't thought about Brian in years. My college boyfriend, the quiet one with soft eyes and a nervous laugh. Then I remembered. The favor. No, the trap. Darlene had once convinced Brian to loan her money, saying it was for something Marcy doesn't want people to know about. I never saw that cash, never even knew it happened until Brian broke up with me in a 3-sentence email that ended with, I don't know who you really are, and I don't want to find out. Back then, I thought he was just being paranoid. Now I knew better. They could twist it into fraud, I told Jared. He nodded grimly. We'll preempt it. Statement, affidavit from you, timeline from me. Anything else you remember? Dig it up. We worked in silence for over an hour. I pulled up old text logs, college email archives, even scanned my old Facebook messages. Every breadcrumb I'd once ignored now glowed red in hindsight. This wasn't just family dysfunction. This was war. When we wrapped up for the night, I turned to Jared and said, They're not just trying to discredit me. They're trying to destroy my name before the court can even say it. He looked at me, dead serious. Then we beat them to it. The next morning we compiled everything, the threats, the fake accusations, the manipulation with Brian. Jared packaged it and sent it to the legal team. He also included a request to expedite the hearing date, citing ongoing harassment. I sat down and typed a brief memo for my HR department, just in case the poison email ever resurfaced there. I added it to a growing file labeled Retaliation, printed a hard copy and locked it in my drawer. Around noon, I got a text. Clayton. Just a name on my screen, pulsing like a bad omen. They want to talk, it read. Mom says she has something to say. One last meeting, just you and her. No drama. I stared at it for a full minute before replying. Tell her I'll see her, in court. Then I deleted the thread. There was no more room for emotional bargaining. No more meetings dressed up as family reconciliations. No more pretending that this was anything other than what it was. A strategic smear campaign led by people who once claimed to love me. But they made one mistake. They assumed I'd keep quiet. They forgot what it looks like when the person they tried to break finally stops flinching. They forgot silence can scream. The morning of the hearing, Denver felt colder than usual. The sun was out, but its light didn't carry warmth, only clarity. Jared parked the car outside the courthouse, glanced over at me, and asked, You good? I nodded. I'm not afraid of them anymore. We walked in together, flanked by my attorney and a paralegal. My heels clicked sharp against the polished floors as we passed through security and into the courtroom. Inside, it was already buzzing. Low murmurs, the rustle of papers, the clink of belts and phones being dropped into trays. Then I saw them. Rosalind sat stiffly, hands folded in her lap like she was posing for a church portrait. Her eyes met mine just long enough to shoot a glance of disdain. Leonard leaned back in his seat like he was at a barbecue. And Darlene? She didn't even look up. She was chewing gum like this was just another dentist appointment. But it was Clayton who held my attention. He stood near the bench, pale and fidgety, fingers pulling at the sleeve of his blazer. I hadn't seen him in person since the cabin, and he looked like he hadn't slept. Our eyes locked briefly. No smile. Just a subtle nod. That was enough. The bailiff called the room to order. Then it began. The judge looked over his glasses and said, Let's proceed with witness testimony. Mr. Clayton Reynolds, you may take the stand. My brother stood slowly, cleared his throat, and walked forward. He didn't look at our mother. He didn't glance at Darlene. His voice trembled at first, but gained strength with each word. I'm Clayton Reynolds, And yes, I can confirm that I knew about the money. I didn't understand all of it, but I knew it wasn't hers. He paused, looked at the judge, then at me. And I knew my sister, Marcy, didn't agree to it. He went on, testifying about the payday loan forged in my name, the way Rosalind and Darlene pushed him into signing things when he was barely 21, how they told him I was too uptight, and that it was all family anyway. When he spoke those words aloud, they sounded like acid. I didn't say anything because I was scared, but that doesn't make it right. It never did. There was a stillness in the room. Not a single cough, no chair creak, just that raw silence that follows truth laid bare. When he stepped down, he didn't return to Rosalind's side. He sat behind me. The prosecution then took over. They displayed evidence on a projector, scans of forged authorizations, text message logs, wire transfers to hidden bank accounts under the label Household Emergency. Then they dropped the real bombshell. An account registered under Rosalind's name. Years of deposits, all tied back to checks written by me for family groceries, school supplies, rent help. Except they were never used for those things. The fund was hers, quiet, untouched. Rosalind stood up before her attorney could even object. I didn't steal anything. I was holding it for family, for emergencies. The judge didn't flinch. Did your daughter authorize the transfers? She never said not to. That's not authorization, ma'am. Rosalind faltered. And I saw something I hadn't seen in her since I was a child. Fear. The judge glanced at the evidence list, then at my file. This court finds sufficient probable cause to proceed with prosecution. Formal charges will be reviewed and delivered within the next 7 business days. And that was it. Gavel down. Hearing adjourned. Outside, I stood on the steps of the courthouse, the sun now burning through the clouds above me. I inhaled slowly, deeply, not because I was free, but because I was seen. Jared stepped beside me, slid his sunglasses on. They didn't expect you to make it this far. No, I said. They expected I'd stay quiet. Again. We didn't speak after that. We didn't need to, because silence, this time, wasn't surrender. It was victory echoing between every breath. 60 days passed. 2 months of statements, reports, follow-ups, emails, subpoenas, and updates. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even loud. Justice, as I came to learn, moves like a glacier, slow, unstoppable, and indifferent to the damage it scrapes clean on its way. I received the final notice on a Tuesday morning. A simple envelope, white and stiff, delivered to my apartment door. Inside, the formal judgment. Darlene and Leonard were found guilty of financial misrepresentation and conspiracy to commit fraud. Their sentence? 2 years suspended. No jail, but restitution ordered in full, and a permanent note on their record. They were to repay the $9,300 plus court costs in monthly installments under supervision. Rosalind? No criminal charges. Technicalities, the way the account was set up, the statute limitations, the passive role she played on paper. But I did sue her civilly. The judgment forced her to surrender the hidden fund, every last cent. Within a week, their assets were frozen. Their church friends stopped calling. Leonard lost a client he'd been working with for years. Darlene tried to post online about family betrayal, but the comments weren't what she expected. They did what to their own sister? Glad she took them to court. No one bought their version anymore. That, more than anything, was the justice I needed. Not handcuffs, accountability. I sat on the couch that night, a cup of tea in my hand, the court envelope sitting unopened now that I'd read it twice. My laptop pinged. New email, subject line, thank you. I clicked. It was from Ramona, a woman I barely knew, cousin of Nicholas, an old friend I'd once worked with. She wrote, I know we've never talked much, but I needed to reach out. I read about your case, I saw your name in the local legal newsletter, and I recognized the last name because I knew Darlene. Years ago, she borrowed money from my ex, told him it was for your cancer treatment. You were never sick, were you? I stared at the screen. No, I wasn't. Ramona continued. He dumped me because I warned him she was lying. Said I didn't care enough about your family. He thought I was cold. Turns out, I was just right. You didn't just win a case, Marcy. You changed the way I see boundaries. You made me realize that walking away isn't cruel, it's how we survive. You reminded me that silence isn't peace, it's just postponed pain. Thank you. I didn't cry. I just sat there, still, the weight of her words grounding me in a way nothing else had. It wasn't just personal anymore. It had never been. Darlene had spun this web for years, fabricating need, exploiting relationships, rewriting narratives where she was the hero, and I was the rich, absent sister who owed her everything. This case hadn't uncovered all of it, but it uncovered enough. That evening, I stepped out onto my balcony. Denver's skyline shimmered beneath the early August haze. The air was hot, thick with summer. Jared came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, chin resting on my shoulder. "You feel free yet?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. I looked out at the streets below, the people, the movement, the normalcy. "No," I said finally. "Not free." He pulled back slightly, concerned. "But I feel safe," I added. "And for now, that's enough." We stood there like that until the sun dipped behind the buildings, casting long shadows over the city. I thought about the woman I was 3 months ago, careful, quiet, complicit. The woman who smiled through family betrayals and called them quirks. The one who thought strength meant keeping peace. That woman was gone. She didn't disappear at the courthouse. She vanished the moment I chose to write it all down. To file the complaint. To speak when everyone expected me to swallow it. To draw a line and mean it. I didn't need to see them punished to feel powerful. I just needed to be the one who finally said no. I used to think loyalty meant silence. That keeping peace meant swallowing pain and excusing betrayal, just because the people hurting me shared my blood. But here's what I've learned. Family isn't about obligation, it's about respect. And silence? Silence is not noble when it protects abuse. Silence is survival's enemy. If you're watching this and you're standing at that same cliff, between speaking up and staying quiet, I want you to know, you are not wrong for saying enough. You are not selfish for drawing a boundary, and you are not alone. I didn't just lose money, I lost trust, years, and parts of myself I'll never get back. But I gained something too, a life I finally own. So maybe you're watching this from a couch you paid for, but don't feel at home on. Or maybe someone you love keeps crossing the line and calling it love. If so, tell me, what would justice look like for you? Let's talk in the comments, share your story, or just say where you're watching from. If this story touched something in you, drop a 1 in the comments, so I know I'm not alone either. And if it didn't, that's okay too. Tell me why. Tell me where you're tuning in from. And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and unapologetically human, hit that subscribe button. Because the truth deserves a voice, and this channel is here to help you find yours.
Hey there, I'm Sarah, and my childhood felt like something straight out of a heartwarming movie, all thanks to my mom, Linda. She was my rock, my cheerleader, and my best friend all rolled into one. I can still remember the mouth-watering smell of her homemade cookies wafting through our tiny apartment. Every night, she tucked me in with a bedtime story, her voice as soothing as a lullaby. "Sarah, honey," she'd say, "you can be anything you want to be. Just be kind and work hard." Those words became my mantra, even when times were tough, and boy, were they tough sometimes. Mom never let me feel like I was missing out, though. She turned our financial struggles into little adventures. "Look, Sarah," she'd exclaim, holding up a dress she'd sewn from scraps. "It's a one-of-a-kind Sarah original." I'd twirl around in my new designer outfit, feeling like the luckiest kid in the world. Dad wasn't in the picture. He left when I was just a baby, so it was just Mom and me. She juggled work and raising me on her own, never once complaining. One day, when I was about 8, I asked her, "Mom, don't you miss having a husband?" She smiled, pulled me close, and said, "Sweetie, I have all the love I need right here." That's the kind of woman my mom is, selfless, strong, and full of love. As I grew older, her dedication to my education became clear. She'd sit with me for hours, helping me with homework, even when she was exhausted from working double shifts at the diner. "Education is the key to a better life, Sarah," she'd remind me. No one can ever take that away from you." Those words stuck with me. I buried myself in my studies, determined to make her proud. And it paid off. By high school, I was at the top of my class. That's when Aunt Karen started showing up more. Mom's sister had always been around, but now she was a constant presence, always smiling, always offering a helping hand. "Linda, you work too hard," she'd say. "Let me help out more." Mom was grateful, and so was I. But little did we know what was brewing behind that helpful facade. Everything changed during my senior year. I scored a full-ride scholarship to State University, and Mom couldn't have been prouder. But our celebration was short-lived. That same week, Mom was diagnosed with a chronic illness. Suddenly, our roles reversed. I became the caretaker, juggling college preparations and Mom's doctor appointments. "I'm so sorry, sweetie," Mom said one night, her face pale against the hospital pillows. "This isn't how it's supposed to be." I held her hand tightly. "Don't you dare apologize, Mom. It's my turn to take care of you now." As Mom's condition worsened, Aunt Karen stepped in even more, offering to manage Mom's finances, handle her medical appointments, and keep the house running. At the time, it felt like a godsend. If only we'd known the truth behind those comforting smiles and hugs. But that's a story for another day. Just know that sometimes the people closest to you can surprise you in the worst possible ways. Stay tuned for what happens next. You won't believe where this story goes. College life hit me like a freight train. Between classes, assignments, and caring for Mom, I was running on fumes. Aunt Karen became our saving grace, or so I thought. "Sarah, honey, you focus on your studies and I'll take care of your mom," she'd say, her smile warm and reassuring. I was grateful, truly, but something felt off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. One day, while paying Mom's bills, I noticed a strange discrepancy in her account. "Hey Mom, did you make a big purchase recently?" I asked. She looked at me, confused. "No, sweetie," I shrugged it off, chalking it up to a bank error, but that uneasy feeling in my stomach wouldn't go away. As the weeks passed, Mom's condition worsened, and the doctors recommended more intensive care, which meant higher expenses. Aunt Karen took over the finances, insisting it was one less thing for us to worry about. Then, one night, I was home for the weekend, trying to catch up on sleep when I was jolted awake by voices. "Karen, what have you done?" I heard Mom's voice, weak but furious. "Linda, you're confused. It's the medication." "Don't patronize me. I saw the bank statements. How could you?" My heart pounded as I crept down the hallway, straining to hear. "I needed the money, Linda. You don't understand." "Get out. Get out." I rushed into the room. Mom was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Aunt Karen looked like she'd seen a ghost. "What's going on?" I demanded. Karen quickly composed herself. "Nothing, sweetie. Your mom's just upset about her meds. I'll handle it." But I wasn't buying it anymore. That night, I went through Mom's finances myself. And what I found made me sick. Thousands of dollars had been transferred to an account I didn't recognize. The next day, I confronted Karen. "How could you steal from your own sister?" She laughed, but it was cold and mocking. "Steal? Oh, Sarah, you're so naive. Your mother offered to help me. Now she's just confused." "You're lying," I shouted. Her eyes narrowed. "Prove it." That's when I realized the loving aunt I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone calculated and cruel. That night, I couldn't sleep. Instead, I ordered hidden cameras and set them up in Mom's room. It felt wrong, like an invasion of privacy. But I had to protect her. Little did I know those cameras would capture something far worse than theft. It was just another Tuesday and I was supposed to be in class. But something, call it intuition, made me turn around and head home. When I got there, the house was eerily quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard a muffled sound coming from Mom's room. I ran, my heart in my throat, and what I saw will haunt me forever. Aunt Karen was standing over Mom's bed, pressing a pillow over her face. "Stop," I screamed, lunging forward. Karen jumped back, shock and guilt written all over her face. "Sarah, I was just fluffing her pillow," she stammered, but Mom was gasping, her eyes wide with terror. With shaking fingers, I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. "Please help. My aunt just tried to kill my mother." Everything after that was a blur. Police sirens, paramedics rushing in, Karen being led away in handcuffs, still protesting her innocence. Mom was rushed to the hospital, and while we waited for news, a detective approached me. Miss, we found some concerning financial records at your home. Do you know anything about this? I told him everything, the missing money, the arguments, my suspicions. He nodded grimly. We'll need to conduct a full investigation. It looks like your aunt has been embezzling funds for years. The next few days were a nightmare. Mom was stable but weak, and I barely left her side. Then the calls started coming in from family members. Sarah, what's this we're hearing about Karen? It can't be true. You must have misunderstood. Are you sure you're not overreacting? Their doubt cut deep, but I stood firm. I hired a lawyer determined to see justice done. As the investigation unfolded, the full extent of Karen's betrayal came to light. She hadn't just stolen from Mom. She'd been preying on elderly relatives for years. Mom's health slowly improved, and one day she squeezed my hand and whispered, "I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner." I kissed her forehead. "It's not your fault, Mom. She fooled us all." The courtroom was packed on the day of Karen's trial. As the prosecutor laid out the case, gasps echoed through the room. Years of fraud, manipulation, and finally, attempted murder. Karen sat stone-faced, but I saw the moment she realized it was over. Her carefully crafted facade crumbled. One by one, victims came forward, elderly aunts and uncles I barely knew, all with similar stories. Karen, the helpful niece who drained their savings. She told me it was for a good cause. One great aunt testified, her voice trembling. I trusted her. The hardest part was watching Mom take the stand. She looked so small, so fragile, but her voice was strong as she recounted that terrible day. I woke up and couldn't breathe, she said. I saw Karen's eyes and they were empty. When the verdict came in, guilty on all counts, I didn't feel joy, just relief. As Karen was led away, she glanced at me. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the aunt I used to love. But it quickly vanished. The aftermath was tough. Some family members still couldn't believe it. Others were ashamed they hadn't seen the signs. Mom and I had a lot of healing to do, both physically and emotionally. One night, as we sat in our living room, now free of Karen's shadow, Mom turned to me. Sarah, I've been thinking, what happened to us must be happening to others too. I nodded, understanding. We should do something. And that's how our support group, Families Against Elder Abuse, was born. It started small, just a few people gathered in our living room. But it grew. We shared stories, resources, and warning signs to watch for. I began speaking at community centers, schools, anywhere that would have me. Elder abuse is real, I tell them, and it often comes from those we trust most. It wasn't easy. Some days the memories would hit hard. But every time we helped a family recognize the signs or supported someone through their own ordeal, it felt like a victory. Mom's health improved, and she became a beacon of hope for others. A living testament that there is life after betrayal. As for me, I finished college, but my path had shifted. I went into social work, specializing in elder care protection. Karen's actions had torn our family apart. But from that destruction, we built something meaningful. A community, a support system, a way to turn our pain into purpose. Every night, I thank whatever force brought me home that day. And I promise myself, never again, not on my watch. Our story isn't over, but now we're writing it on our own terms. If sharing it helps even one person, then every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt will have been worth it. Because in the end, love wins. Not the fake love Karen showed, but the real, selfless love that Mom taught me, the kind of love that heals, that builds, that changes the world. And that's a love worth fighting for. One day, about a year after Karen's conviction, I received a letter. It was from her, sent from prison. My hands shook as I opened it. Sarah, it began. I know I have no right to ask for forgiveness. I read it, tears streaming down my face. Karen expressed deep remorse, explaining the desperation that led to her actions. She didn't try to excuse what she'd done but offered some context. Gambling debts, a failed business, mounting medical bills for her child I never knew existed. I showed the letter to Mom, and her response surprised me. We can't forget, Sarah, she said, but maybe we can find a way to forgive, not for her, but for us. It wasn't easy, but we decided to use Karen's story as part of our outreach, not to justify her actions, but to show how complex life can be. The story has come to an end, but now I have a question for you. If you were in Sarah's position, could you ever forgive someone like Aunt Karen for their betrayal, even after they expressed remorse? Or do you believe that some actions are truly unforgivable? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might help others wrestling with similar dilemmas. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. We share thought-provoking content that explores the complexities of human relationships and personal growth. Join our community as we navigate life's challenging scenarios together. Hello, I'm Sarah, a 28-year-old graphic designer who thought I was living my dream life in the suburbs of Chicago. 3 years ago, I married Tom. He was charming, successful, and came from what seemed to be a respectable family. We had a beautiful wedding, bought a quaint house, and started building our lives together. I truly believed I had everything figured out, but appearances can often be deceiving. Tom's parents, Linda and Frank, appeared friendly enough at first. Linda would often bring over casseroles and offer advice, whether I asked for it or not. Frank was boisterous, always with a beer in hand, and prided himself on being the best driver around. "I'm the best in the state," he'd boast. Sure. At first, their visits were manageable. A Sunday dinner here, a barbecue there. But soon it felt like they were always around. Linda would drop by unannounced, rearranging my kitchen cabinets as though I didn't know how to organize. Frank would take over our TV, blasting sports at full volume. "Tom, don't you think your parents are over a bit too often?" I asked one evening after they'd finally left. "Come on, Sarah, they're just being nice." "You're overreacting," he said. That word, overreacting, would soon haunt me. As time passed, I began noticing troubling patterns. Tom would constantly dismiss my concerns, always siding with his parents. He'd roll his eyes whenever I suggested spending some time alone. Little things would set him off, and then he'd brush it off, telling me to learn to take a joke when I felt hurt. "You're too sensitive," he'd say. Then came the weekend trip from hell. Tom's parents suggested we all visit their lake house. I wasn't keen on the idea, but Tom insisted. "It'll be fun," he said. "Stop being so dramatic." So I found myself cramped in the backseat of Frank's SUV. Linda sat beside me, chattering endlessly, while Frank sped down the highway as if it were a racetrack. "Frank, could you slow down a bit?" I asked, gripping the seat, my knuckles white. "Relax, sweetheart. I've been driving these roads for 40 years. I know what I'm doing." I looked at Tom, silently pleading for his support, but he just shrugged and went back to his phone. It was in that moment I realized, despite being surrounded by family, I was completely alone. As Frank took a sharp turn, tires screeching, I shut my eyes, wondering how I ended up here, with people who didn't respect me, married to a man who didn't seem to care. The tension in the car became unbearable as Frank sped down the winding road. "Frank, please, slow down. You're going too fast for these curves," I urged again. "Oh, lighten up, Sarah. I've driven this road 100 times," he said dismissively. Suddenly, a deer darted onto the road. Frank swerved sharply. The tires screeched and everything slowed down. The car spun out of control. I heard Linda scream. I saw Tom's phone fly from his hand. Then there was a deafening crash. Pain, unbearable pain, consumed me. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. There was glass everywhere, and the metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. Sirens wailed in the distance. The next few hours were a blur, bright lights, urgent voices, and excruciating pain. I caught snippets of conversation. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, prep for surgery. I was terrified. Where was Tom? Why wasn't he with me? When I finally regained full consciousness, I was in the ICU, surrounded by machines beeping steadily. Every breath was agony. "Hey, you're awake," said Nicole, my best friend and an ER nurse. Her face was a mixture of relief and concern. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Like I've been hit by a truck," I managed to croak. "Where's Tom?" Nicole's expression darkened. "He's outside, with his parents. Sarah, there's something you need to know." Just then, Tom walked in, his parents following closely behind. Frank had only a few scratches and Linda looked shaken. Unlike me, they were all walking. Tom stood by the doorway hesitant. "Oh honey," he said, but he didn't come closer. "You really scared us." Scared them? I couldn't believe my ears. I scared you. Your dad nearly killed us all. Frank puffed up, looking indignant. Now listen here. Sarah, Tom interrupted, his tone patronizing. You're overreacting. It was an accident. These things happen. I stared at him in disbelief. Overreacting. I'm in the ICU, Tom. Well, maybe if you hadn't distracted Dad with all your constant nagging about his driving. That's enough. Nicole's sharp voice cut through the tension. Sarah needs rest. You all need to leave. As she ushered them out, I caught bits of their conversation drifting in from the hallway. I told you, she's always been dramatic, Linda said. Remember Thanksgiving? How she overreacted when Frank had a few extra beers. I know, Mom, Tom replied. I just don't know what to do with her anymore. Son, Frank chimed in, he can't let her manipulate you like this. Accidents happen. She needs to get over it. Tears rolled down my face as the truth hit me like a second crash. My husband, the man who promised to stand by me in sickness and in health, was taking his reckless father's side. They were painting me as the villain, the dramatic wife, while I lay there broken, in pain. Nicole returned, her face a mix of anger and sympathy. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I had no idea Tom was like this. As the pain meds began pulling me under, one thought crystallized in my mind. I was done. Done with Tom, done with his toxic family, done with being the scapegoat. If I survived this, things were going to change. I just needed to figure out how. The weeks following the accident were a blur of pain, physical therapy, and a slow, grueling recovery. Each day was a battle, but I was determined to regain my strength. Nicole was my rock, visiting daily, helping me through the hardest moments. You've got this, Sarah, she'd say. Surprisingly, my coworkers were also incredibly supportive. They sent care packages, covered my projects, and even started a meal train. Their kindness was a stark contrast to Tom's family. Tom's visits became rare and brief, always filled with excuses. Sorry, babe, work's been crazy. You understand, right? His parents were worse. Linda would waltz in, armed with backhanded comments disguised as concern. Oh, Sarah dear, still in that wheelchair? I thought you'd be up by now. My cousin's neighbor's dog groomer had a similar accident and she was fine in a week. I bit my tongue. Engaging with her wasn't worth it. The real turning point came when my brother Mike flew in from California. One look at me, then at Tom's detached expression, and I saw fury flash in his eyes. What the hell, man? Mike confronted Tom in the hallway. Your wife's been through hell, and you're acting like it's a minor inconvenience. Back off, Tom snarled. You have no idea what I've been dealing with. Sarah's milking this for all it's worth. I heard the scuffle, the thud of someone hitting the wall. Then Mike stormed back in, his knuckles white. Sarah, I'm getting you out of here, today. As Mike helped me pack, I noticed Tom's tablet on the nightstand. A notification popped up from someone named Amber. Curiosity got the better of me, and I tapped it. My world shattered all over again. Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. Sarah still playing the victim. Dozens of messages, photos, and plans for secret rendezvous flashed before me. The evidence of Tom's betrayal was undeniable. Over the next few weeks, as I recovered at Mike's place, I began to plan. I reached out to Lisa, a lawyer friend from college. During our clandestine meeting, I told her everything. Sarah, what you're describing is emotional abuse, Lisa said firmly. We can build a strong case, especially with the evidence of his affair. I nodded, feeling a strange calm wash over me. What do I need to do? Document everything, texts, emails, witness statements, and be careful. Don't let them know you're planning this. With renewed determination, I threw myself into my recovery. Physical therapy, job applications, gathering evidence, it all gave me purpose. Then, out of the blue, I received an email from Jeremy, my old mentor. Sarah, heard about your accident. Hope you're well. We have an opening for a senior designer here in Boston. Interested? It felt like the universe was finally aligning in my favor. The day I confronted Tom, I felt a strange mix of dread and exhilaration. I waited until Tom got home, his usual dismissive attitude on full display. Tom, we need to talk. Can it wait? I'm tired. No, it can't. I know about Amber. His face turned pale. What are you talking about? I calmly pulled out a stack of printed messages. Your affair, Tom. I know everything. Sarah, It's not what you think. Save it, I cut him off. I'm filing for divorce. His shock quickly shifted to anger. You'll get nothing. My family will make sure of it. I smiled, cold and certain. We'll see about that in court. In the courtroom, my lawyer presented a meticulously prepared dossier, text messages, emails, and witness statements from friends and coworkers documenting Tom's neglect and his family's emotional abuse. Your Honor, my lawyer began, my client has endured years of emotional manipulation and gaslighting, culminating in her husband's affair while she was recovering from a near-fatal accident caused by her father-in-law's reckless driving. Tom's face shifted between rage and disbelief as the judge reviewed the evidence. His lawyer tried to object, but the proof was undeniable. Then came the bombshell. Furthermore, my lawyer added, we have uncovered Mr. Evans's father's extensive history of reckless driving and multiple DUIs, which have been quietly settled out of court. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. I was awarded a substantial settlement, including the house and half of our joint assets. Tom was livid, but there was nothing he could do. As we left the courthouse, I overheard him hissing at his parents. This is your fault. If you hadn't pushed me to fight this, I could have settled quietly. I walked away, head held high, ready to start my new life. The aftermath was swift. Frank's driving record became public, resulting in a suspended license and hefty fines. Tom's company, alerted by the divorce proceedings, launched an internal investigation into his relationship with Amber, who was his subordinate. Meanwhile, I accepted Jeremy's job offer in Boston. Packing up my life felt liberating. Each box I packed was another step toward freedom. On my first day at the new firm, I was nervous but excited. Welcome aboard, Sarah. Jeremy greeted me warmly. We're thrilled to have you. Months flew by as I threw myself into my work, rediscovering my passion for creativity. My colleagues became my new friends, and slowly I began to heal. 3 years later, I found myself standing on a stage in New York, accepting the Innovative Design Award for a campaign I had spearheaded. As I gave my speech, a news ticker caught my eye on a screen in the back of the hall. Evans & Sons facing bankruptcy. CEO Tom Evans steps down amid scandal. I felt a brief pang, quickly replaced by a sense of satisfaction. They had made their beds, and now they had to lie in them. Later that night, surrounded by my new friends and colleagues at a celebratory dinner, I raised my glass. To new beginnings and true friends, I toasted as laughter and conversation filled the air. I looked around the table at the people who had supported, challenged, and celebrated me. These were my real family now. For the first time in years, I felt truly happy. The road had been hard, but I had come out stronger. As I sipped my champagne, I smiled to myself. The future was bright, and it was all mine. The story has come to an end, but now we'd love to hear from you. If you were in Sarah's shoes, would you have confronted Tom about the affair immediately, or would you have waited to gather more evidence like she did? How would you have handled the betrayal differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and perspectives would help others facing similar situations. If you found Sarah's journey compelling, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more stories of resilience and triumph over toxicity. Your support helps us continue sharing these important narratives. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're stronger than you know. Hey there, I'm Nancy Thompson, just your average 18-year-old with big dreams and a small bank account. It's a typical Friday night, and I'm wiping down tables at Joe's Diner, daydreaming about college life. Mike, my boyfriend, is sitting at the counter, keeping me company. You're going to kill it at Westbrook, Nance, Mike says, grinning over his milkshake. I smile back. Thanks, babe. I just hope this job and my college fund will be enough to cover it all. Just then, my phone buzzes. It's a text from my cousin, Emily. You free tomorrow? Dad wants us all over for dinner. I roll my eyes. Uncle Robert's family dinners usually just turn into him bragging about his latest business deal. But hey, free food is free food, right? Sure, I'll be there. I text back. The next day, I'm helping Mom, Sarah, to you with the dishes when she brings up the college fund. Honey, have you talked to Uncle Robert about accessing your fund? Tuition's due soon. I pause, holding a sudsy plate in my hand. Not yet. I'll ask him at dinner tonight. Mom looks worried. Just be careful, okay? Your uncle can be unpredictable sometimes. I brush off her concern. Relax, Mom. Uncle Robert's got this. Dad trusted him with the money. At dinner, Emily and I are chatting about dorm life when Uncle Robert clears his throat. So, Nancy, I hear you got into Westbrook. Congrats, kiddo. Thanks, Uncle Robert. Actually, I wanted to ask you about. He cuts me off. You know, when I was your age, I worked my way through college. Built character, it did. I force a smile. That's great, but about my college fund. He interrupts again, his tone turning serious. Nancy, you can't always rely on handouts. Sometimes you've got to make your own way in life. Something in his voice makes my stomach twist, but before I can say more, he changes the subject, going on about his latest big deal. As we're leaving, I pull Emily aside. Is everything okay with your dad? He seemed off. Emily shrugs, but there's a flicker of something in her eyes. You know, Dad, always up to something. That night, I can't shake the uneasy feeling. I dig out my Westbrook acceptance letter, staring at the tuition costs. It's a lot, but with my college fund, it should be doable, right? Little did I know, my world was about to turn upside down. But hey, that's a story for another day. Stay tuned, folks. Things are about to get real interesting around here. I couldn't sleep that night, tossing and turning with worry. The next morning, I decide to bite the bullet and call Uncle Robert about the college fund. Hey, kiddo, what's up? His voice sounded strained. Uncle Robert, I need to access my college fund. Tuition's due soon. There was a long pause. Listen, Nancy, we need to talk. Can you come by the house later? My stomach sank. When I got there, Mom was already waiting, her face tight with concern. What's going on? I asked, my voice trembling. Uncle Robert couldn't look us in the eye. I made a mistake. The college fund, it's gone. Gone? I echoed, not understanding. What do you mean gone? He started rambling about bad investments and market crashes. But Mom cut him off, her voice sharp. Robert, tell her the truth. He deflated, slumping in his chair. I used it for my divorce from Karen. I was going to pay it back, I swear. The room began to spin. You used my college fund for your divorce? My voice cracked with disbelief. How could you? I'm sorry, Nancy. I'll make it right, I promise. Mom's voice was ice cold. Like you promised to pay back all the loans you took from me? I whirled around, stunned. What loans? Mom looked down, ashamed. Your uncle's been borrowing money for years. I thought you'd pay it back. I felt my world crumble. All those times we'd struggled, pinching pennies, and Uncle Robert had been draining us dry. Just then, Emily burst into the room, her face flushed with anger. Dad, what did you do? She turned to me, eyes brimming with tears. Nancy, I'm so sorry. I just found out. You knew? The betrayal was like a punch to the gut. No, not exactly. I knew things were bad with the divorce, but I didn't know about the fund. Uncle Robert tried to interject, but Emily wasn't finished. Tell them, Dad. Tell them why Mom really left. Uncle Robert paled. Emily, please. But she was on a roll. He cheated on Mom, over and over again. And he's been borrowing money from her company, too. Each revelation hit like a tidal wave. I felt like I was drowning. I trusted you. I choked out. We all did. Uncle Robert reached out, but I pulled away. Nancy, please. I'll fix this. I've got a new deal in the works. Another get-rich-quick scheme, Mom scoffed. Enough, Robert. I couldn't take it anymore. Without another word, I bolted out of the house, ignoring their calls as I ran until my lungs burned. Finally, I collapsed on a park bench, gasping for air. My phone buzzed. It was Mike. Nance, you okay? Emily called me. I broke down, spilling everything between sobs. I'll be right there, he said. As I waited, I scrolled through old family photos on my phone. All those smiling faces. Had it all been a lie? Mike arrived and wrapped me in a bear hug. We'll figure this out, he promised. But as I sat there, I knew things would never be the same. The uncle I once trusted was gone, replaced by a stranger who had stolen not just my future but my trust. One thing was clear, I wasn't going down without a fight. Uncle Robert had no idea what was coming. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I worked double shifts at the diner, barely sleeping, trying to figure out how to salvage my college dreams. Mike's family knew a lawyer, Mr. Jacobson, who agreed to meet with me pro bono. Nancy, based on what you've told me, you have a solid case against your uncle, Mr. Jacobson said, flipping through my documents. I bit my lip. But he's family. Is suing him really the right thing to do? Mr. Jacobson leaned forward. Nancy, what he did was illegal. You have every right to fight for what's yours. After a sleepless night, I made my decision. We filed the lawsuit against Uncle Robert the next day. When word got out, all hell broke loose. Uncle Robert called everyone in the family, spinning a tale about how I was an ungrateful brat tearing the family apart. Some of my cousins turned on me. Only Emily stood by my side, which caused a rift between her and her dad. I'm so sorry, Nance, she said one day over coffee. I had no idea how bad things really were. I squeezed her hand. It's not your fault, Em. Meanwhile, I kept pulling extra shifts at the diner. One night, as I was closing up, my boss, Linda, called me into her office. Nancy, I've been impressed with your work ethic lately. How would you like to be a management trainee? We can work around your school schedule. I nearly burst into tears. Linda, that would be amazing. Thank you. As I was leaving, I overheard two businessmen talking about a deal with Uncle Robert. Something about the numbers they were discussing didn't add up. Curious, I did some digging. Turns out, Uncle Robert had been cooking the books for years. I anonymously tipped off one of his business partners, Mr. Donovan. A few days later, I was having lunch with Mom when my phone buzzed. It was Emily. Nancy, you won't believe what just happened. The feds showed up at Dad's office. I tried to keep my voice steady. Really? What for? Something about fraud. Nancy, I think Dad's in serious trouble. As I hung up, Mom looked at me, suspicious. Nancy, do you know something about this? I took a deep breath. Mom, there's something I need to tell you. I spilled everything. The overheard conversation, my investigation, the anonymous tip. Mom listened, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. Nancy, what you did was risky. I'm proud of you for standing up for what's right, Mom said softly. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Jacobson. Nancy, we need to talk. There's been a development in your case. I looked at Mom, anxiety and hope swirling inside me. Whatever was coming next, one thing was certain. I wasn't backing down. Uncle Robert was about to learn the hard way that actions have consequences, and I was done being his victim. A few days later, Emily called, her voice shaky. Nancy, it's bad. The feds raided Dad's office. They're saying it's fraud, a lot of it. I felt a mix of vindication and sadness. Em, I'm so sorry you're caught in the middle of this. Don't be, she said firmly. I'm done making excuses for him. I'm on your side, Nance. Meanwhile, I was juggling my new management role at the diner with endless scholarship applications. Linda, my boss, was a godsend, always working around my schedule. You're going places, kid, she'd say, beaming with pride. Finally, the day of the verdict arrived. Mom squeezed my hand as we sat in a courtroom. When the judge ruled in my favor, ordering Uncle Robert to repay the college fund with interest, a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. But the victory was bittersweet. Uncle Robert, looking defeated, approached us outside. Nancy, Sarah, I'm sorry for everything. Can we please try to work this out as a family? I looked at him, this man I once admired, now a shell of himself, and shook my head. No, Uncle Robert, we can't. Some things can't be fixed with an apology. As we walked away, Mom whispered, You did good, honey. Your dad would be proud. With a lawsuit settled and a few scholarships secured, I started my first semester at Westbrook U. It wasn't easy. I was still working part-time at the diner, but I was making it work. One crisp fall day, I was studying on the quad when Mike dropped down beside me, grinning. How's my future hotshot lawyer doing? I laughed, closing my textbook. Ask me again after finals. We chatted about classes and friends, the conversation flowing easily. It hit me then just how much had changed. How much I had changed. The story of Nancy's fight against her uncle's betrayal has come to a close. But now I have a question for you. If you were in Nancy's shoes, would you have pursued legal action against your uncle? Or would you have tried to handle the situation within the family? What do you think the long-term consequences of each choice might be? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hey everyone, I'm Moran, and I'm a nurse at Central Hospital. I'm sitting at this fancy dinner table, surrounded by my husband Jack's family. They're all decked out in designer clothes, sipping expensive wine, while I'm just trying not to spill anything on my Target dress. I've been married to Jack for 3 years now, and let me tell you, it's been a wild ride. Pamela, darling, tell everyone your exciting news, chirps Elizabeth, my mother-in-law, from across the table. Pamela, Jack's sister, practically glows as she announces, Gregory and I have decided to start trying for a baby. The table erupts in cheers and congratulations. I force a smile, but my stomach twists into knots. Jack and I have been talking about having kids too, but we haven't told anyone yet. Oh, how wonderful, Elizabeth gushes. I can't wait to have a precious little grandchild. It'll be so perfect, keeping our family line pure and strong. I nearly choke on my water. Did she really just say that? I glance at Jack, but he's busy patting Gregory on the back. I catch Richard, my father-in-law, giving Elizabeth a pointed look. So, Moran, Pamela turns to me, her smile tight. Any plans for you and Jack to start a family? Before I can respond, Elizabeth cuts in. Oh, I'm sure they're not ready yet, right, Moran? You're both so busy with work and all. I open my mouth to speak, but Jack jumps in. Mom's right. We're in no rush. It feels like a punch to the gut. We literally just talked about trying for a baby last night. What's going on? The conversation moves on, but I'm stuck in my own head, replaying Elizabeth's comment about keeping the family line pure. It's not the first time I've heard something like that, but it never gets easier. After dinner, I pull Jack aside in the hallway. What was that about? I thought we agreed we were ready. He runs a hand through his hair, avoiding my eyes. I know. Can we talk about this later? Now's not the time. I watch him walk back to his family, laughing at something Richard said. I've never felt more alone in a room full of people. On the drive home, the silence between us is deafening. I can't shake the feeling that something's off. The way they all looked at each other when Pamela made her announcement, the weird comments about purity. It's like they're speaking in code and I'm not allowed to know the meaning. As we pull into our driveway, Jack finally breaks the silence. Look, Moran, maybe we should hold off on the baby thing for a while. Let Pamela have her moment, you know. I feel like I've been slapped. Her moment? Jack, this isn't a competition. We're talking about our family, our future. He sighs, looking frustrated. Can we just wait? Please? I couldn't believe it when I saw those 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test a few weeks later. My heart raced as I waited for Jack to come home. When he walked through the door, I practically jumped into his arms. Whoa, what's got you so excited? He laughed. Jack, I think I'm pregnant. His face lit up, but then I saw something else. Worry, maybe even fear. He hugged me tight and whispered, That's amazing, babe. But let's keep it quiet for now, okay? Just until we're sure. I agreed, but something felt off. Still, I pushed the feeling aside, focusing on the joy of possibly becoming a mom. A few days later, we had another family dinner at Richard and Elizabeth's place. As I was heading to the bathroom, I overheard voices coming from Richard's study. The door was slightly ajar, and I couldn't help but listen. Jack, you need to put a stop to this. Richard's voice was low but firm. What are you talking about, Dad? This pregnancy nonsense with Moran. You can't let it happen. My blood ran cold. Elizabeth's voice chimed in, dripping with disdain. Think about the family, Jack, our reputation. We can't have our bloodline tainted. If she insists on having children, Richard continued, you might need to consider ending the marriage. I waited for Jack to defend me, to stand up to them. His response shattered my heart. I understand. I'll talk to her. I stumbled back to the dining room, my mind reeling. When Jack returned, I cornered him in a hushed whisper. How could you agree with him? He looked startled. You heard that? Moran, it's not what you think. I was just trying to keep the peace. Keep the peace? By throwing away our dreams? Our family? Before Jack could respond, Pamela sauntered over, her expression smug. What's this I hear about you two trying for a baby? I froze, unsure how she knew. Jack stammered. We're not, Pamela's face twisted in disgust. You can't be serious. A mixed-race child in this family? It would be a scandal. The room fell deathly silent. All eyes were on us. Elizabeth stepped forward, her voice sugary but cutting. Moran, dear, surely you understand our concerns. This isn't the right time for you to have children. Perhaps it's best if you reconsider your priorities. I looked at Jack, silently begging him to stand up for me, for us. But he just stood there, silent, conflicted. I couldn't take it anymore. Grabbing my purse, I rushed out, ignoring Jack's calls behind me. I drove straight to the hospital, tears blurring my vision. Dr. Aisha Roman, my colleague and friend, found me sobbing in the break room. She sat beside me, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. Moran, what happened? Through sobs, I told her everything about the pregnancy, the conversation I'd overheard, Pamela's vile comment. Aisha listened, her face shifting from shock to anger. That's absolutely unacceptable, she said firmly. Moran, you can't let them treat you this way. You have every right to start a family with your husband. But Jack, he didn't even defend me, I whispered, my voice trembling. Aisha squeezed my hand. Then it's time you defended yourself. Stand up to them, Moran. Don't let them bully you out of your dreams. Her words ignited something inside me. I wiped away my tears. You're right, I've spent too long trying to fit into their world. It's time I showed them who I really am. As I left the hospital that night, determination surged through me, though fear still lurked in the corners of my mind. I knew the battle ahead would be tough, but I was ready to fight for my future, even if that meant fighting against the family I had married into. Over the following weeks, I began paying closer attention to Jack's behavior. Late-night phone calls, hushed conversations that ended as soon as I entered the room. Something was definitely up. One evening, I overheard him in his study. Yes, Dad, I understand the terms of the trust fund. No, I haven't told her yet. I know. Time is running out. My heart pounded. Trust fund? What was he talking about? The next day at the hospital, I confided in Michael, a colleague with access to administrative records. He offered to help me discreetly dig into whatever Jack was hiding. What we uncovered made me feel sick. Jack's family had set up a massive trust fund for him, one he could only access if he divorced me and married someone they approved of. They planned to disinherit him if we had a child together. I can't believe this, I whispered, staring at the documents Michael had pulled up. And there's more, Michael added grimly. He showed me records from Richard's real estate company revealing they'd been systematically denying rentals and sales to people of color for years. My heart sank. How deep did this go? But the surprises weren't over. A few days later, while working in the fertility clinic, I spotted a familiar face, Pamela. She was sneaking out of a consultation room, looking nervous. Curiosity got the better of me, and I checked the records. I was stunned. Pamela had been undergoing IVF treatments for months. She was struggling with fertility issues, but keeping it a secret from everyone. That night, I confronted Jack. I know about the trust fund. His face went pale. Moran, I can explain. Explain what? How you've been lying to me? How your family is trying to bribe you into leaving me? It's not like that, he said, his voice shaky. I was trying to figure out a way to fix this. I cut him off. And Pamela's fertility issues. Did you know about those too? Jack looked genuinely surprised. What? No, I had no idea. I sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. Jack, what are we doing? This whole situation is so messed up. He sat beside me, reaching for my hand. Despite everything, I let him take it. I'm so sorry, Moran. I've been a coward. I thought I could handle this on my own, protect you from it all. But I've only made things worse. I looked into his eyes, searching for the man I fell in love with. We're supposed to be partners, Jack. You should have told me. He nodded, tears filling his eyes. You're right. No more secrets. I'll tell you everything. As Jack started talking, I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and a small glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way through this mess together. I spent days agonizing over what to do with everything I had uncovered. Finally, I decided it was time to take action. I called Dr. Roman and Michael, asking them to meet me at a coffee shop far from the hospital. I have a plan, I told them, but I'll need your help. We spent hours going over the details. Michael helped me compile a dossier on Richard's discriminatory housing practices, while Dr. Raymond offered to accompany me to the upcoming charity gala as moral support. The night before the gala, I anonymously tipped off Samantha Reeves, a respected investigative journalist, about Richard's company. My hands shook as I hit send on the email. As we moved through the crowded ballroom at the gala, I spotted Dr. Reman and Michael. They gave me subtle nods. Everything was in place. Suddenly, a hush fell over the room. People were huddled around their phones, whispering urgently. I caught snippets of conversation. Richard's company, discrimination, investigation. Richard rushed past us, his face ashen. Pamela grabbed his arm, looking panicked. Daddy, what's going on? That's when I stepped forward, my voice carrying across the now silent room. I think it's time we all heard the truth, don't you? All eyes turned to me as I took a deep breath and continued. The truth about the discriminatory practices in Richard's company. The truth about the trust fund set up to bribe Jack into leaving me. The truth about this family's racist attitudes and schemes. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Elizabeth stepped forward, her face livid. How dare you, you ungrateful. But I cut her off. No, Elizabeth. I'm done being silent. I'm done trying to fit into a family that sees me as less than human because of the color of my skin. I turned to Jack, my heart pounding. It's time to choose, Jack, your racist family or our future together. The room held its breath as Jack looked from me to his family, conflict clear on his face. Then, slowly, he moved to stand beside me. I choose Moran, he said firmly. I'm done with the lies, the manipulation, the bigotry. I love my wife, and I'm ashamed it took me this long to stand up for her. Pamela, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly burst into tears. This is all your fault, she screamed at me. If you hadn't come along, everything would be perfect. I'd be pregnant by now and… She clapped her hand over her mouth, realizing what she'd said. The room erupted in chaos. In the days that followed, Richard's company faced a full investigation. Former friends and business associates distanced themselves from the family, their true nature now exposed. Jack and I decided to renew our vows, this time in a ceremony that truly represented us. As I stood there, surrounded by our diverse group of friends and colleagues, my hand resting on my slightly swollen belly, I felt a sense of peace. That's the end of my story. Now, I want to ask you, if you were in Jack's position, torn between racist family expectations and love, what would you do? How far would you go to stand up against injustice? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Your support means everything. Hi there, I'm Vanessa Caldwell. I'm 32, a graphic designer living in Seattle. My apartment? Small but cozy, filled with half-finished projects and way too many houseplants. I've always been the artsy type. Life was good. Freelance gigs, close friends, and my family, especially my brother Derek. We were thick as thieves growing up. Then Derek met Natalie. At first, I was thrilled. She seemed perfect, charming, funny, the whole package. But oh, was I in for a surprise. Hey sis, what do you think of Natalie? Derek asked me after their third date. She seems great, Dare. I'm really happy for you, I said, meaning it with all my heart. Fast forward 3 years, and now I'm gritting my teeth every time we're in the same room. Don't get me wrong, Natalie's still charming, but only when there's an audience. When it's just family, that's when her true colors show. Take last Thanksgiving. I brought my signature pumpkin pie, and Natalie just had to say, "Oh, how quaint. I thought we agreed I'd do dessert this year." Did we? I replied, trying to keep it light. Must have slipped my mind. Derek, bless him, tried to smooth things over. Come on, Nat. There's always room for more pie. But the damage was done. The rest of the night was full of those little jabs. Oh, Vanessa, still single? Don't worry, I'm sure you'll find someone eventually. Or, that outfit is so brave of you. I could never pull off something so unique. Each comment was like a paper cut, small but sharp. And they just kept coming. I tried talking to Derek, but he'd always brush it off. That's just Natalie's sense of humor, Van. She doesn't mean anything by it. But I knew better. I saw how her eyes narrowed when Derek and I shared an inside joke, or how she conveniently interrupted every time we tried to have a conversation alone. Eventually, I started dreading family gatherings. Me, the girl who used to live for our chaotic Caldwell get-togethers. You okay, V? My best friend Marcus asked one night over pizza and beer. You've been kinda quiet lately. I sighed, picking at the label on my bottle. It's just family stuff. Natalie's really getting to me. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Natalie? Derek's wife. I thought you liked her. I did. Or, at least I tried. But I don't know. It's like she has a vendetta against me or something. Have you talked to Derek about it? I snorted. Yeah, right? He thinks she walks on water. Besides, I don't want to cause problems. Marcus gave me a long look. Sometimes, V, you've got to rock the boat to keep it from sinking. I knew he was right, but the thought of confronting the situation made my stomach turn. I'd always been the peacekeeper. Stirring up drama went against everything I believed in. But as the weeks went by, things got worse. Natalie's comments became meaner, her actions more blatant. She'd accidentally delete messages from Derek inviting me to dinner, or conveniently forget to pass along details about family events. It felt like I was losing my brother, my family, and I had no idea how to stop it without making everything blow up in my face. Little did I know, the real explosion was yet to come, and it would change everything. I pulled up to Evergreen Park for our annual Caldwell family picnic. The sun was shining, but I felt a chill when I saw Natalie's icy stare from across the lawn. I took a deep breath and plastered on a smile. Hey everyone, I brought potato salad. My mom rushed over, wrapping me in a hug. Oh honey, you didn't have to, but I'm glad you did. Your potato salad is always a hit. I noticed Natalie's lip curl slightly. I made potato salad too. I guess great minds think alike, right, Vanessa? I forced a laugh. Guess so. The more, the merrier, right. The afternoon progressed with the usual family chaos. Kids running around, uncles arguing about politics, and my cousin starting an impromptu volleyball game. I was starting to relax, finally enjoying the light-hearted atmosphere. Van, come play horse shows with us. My brother Derek called out. I jogged over, grateful for the distraction. Prepare to be demolished, little bro, I teased, grinning as we started the game. We were mid-laugh when I heard Natalie's voice cut through the noise, sharp and shrill. Vanessa, what do you think you're doing? I turned, confused. Playing horse shows? No, I mean, why are you sitting there? She marched over, pointing at the lawn chair I'd settled into between turns, her face flushed with anger. Oh, I just needed a quick breather. Is there a problem? That's my spot, Natalie snapped, her voice low but full of venom. Everyone knows I always sit there at the family picnic. I blinked, taken aback. I didn't realize there was assigned seating in public park. I can move if it's that big a deal. It is a big deal. You're always trying to take what's mine. The hostility in her tone made me flinch. Derek stepped in, trying to calm things down. Babe, come on. It's just a chair. There are plenty of others. But Natalie whirled on him, her eyes blazing. Oh, so now you're taking her side? Typical. I stood up, hands raised in surrender. Look, it's fine. I'll move. No need for drama. As I bent down to grab my water bottle, something caught my eye, a flash of metal glinting in the sunlight. My breath hitched. Natalie had picked up a pair of garden shears from a nearby toolbox. Natalie, what are you? Before I could finish, she lunged at me, shears raised. I stumbled backward, crashing onto the grass as the sharp blades missed my face by inches. My heart raced as she screamed, eyes wild with fury. You think you can just waltz in here and take everything from me? I'll show you what happens to homewreckers. Chaos erupted around us. My dad and uncle rushed to restrain her, while my mom yanked me to safety. Derek stood frozen, shock etched across his face. What the hell, Natalie? I gasped, still trembling. Have you lost your mind? She struggled against my dad's grip, her voice dripping with spite. You've been trying to come between Derek and me since day one. Miss Perfect, Miss Sweet. Everyone loves Vanessa. Well, I'm sick of it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you kidding me? I've bent over backward to make you feel welcome, and this is how you repay me? By trying to stab me with garden shears? Derek finally snapped out of his daze. Natalie, this is insane. You need to calm down. Don't you dare tell me to calm down, she shrieked. If you had any backbone, you'd stand up for your wife instead of always siding with your precious sister. I watched as Derek's face crumpled, torn between the woman he married and his family. In that moment, it hit me just how deep this toxicity ran. As the sound of approaching police sirens filled the air, one of my cousins had apparently called 911. I made a silent bow. No more playing nice. No more walking on eggshells. It was time to stand up for myself and protect my family from Natalie's poison. The idyllic family picnic had become a nightmare, but it was the wake-up call I needed. Things were going to change starting now. The days following the picnic blurred into one anxious stretch. Every sudden noise made me jump, my heart racing whenever the doorbell rang. When my phone buzzed, I saw Derek's name flash across the screen. Again. "Van, please, can we talk about this?" he begged. I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. "What's there to talk about, Derek? Your wife tried to stab me." "She's really sorry," he insisted. "It was just a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" My voice rose. Direct, she came at me with a weapon. "How do you misunderstand that?" There was a long pause. "Look, Natalie's agreed to go to anger management classes. Can't we just move past this?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Move past it. Direct, do you even hear yourself? After hanging up, I called Marcus. We met at our favorite coffee shop where I spilled everything. "Jesus, Van, that's insane," Marcus said, his eyes wide with disbelief. "What are you going to do?" I stirred my latte absently. "I don't know. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I overreacting?" Marcus leaned forward, his expression serious. "No way. This is serious. Listen, I've got some contacts in the PI world. Let me do some digging on Natalie." I hesitated. "I don't know, Marcus. That feels invasive." "Invasive?" He raised an eyebrow. "More invasive than attacking you with gardening tools?" Point taken. A week later, Marcus called me, his voice tense. "Van, you need to see this. Can you come over?" At his apartment, he laid out a stack of documents. Natalie's been busy. 2 restraining orders from ex-boyfriends, a sealed juvenile record, and get this, she was fired from her last job for embezzlement. My head spun. What? How did Direct not know about this? Marcus shrugged. She's good at covering her tracks. But that's not all, Marcus said, his voice tense. Remember that big client you lost last month? I nodded, confused by the sudden shift in topic. Well, I did some digging. Turns out, Natalie's been spreading rumors about you, telling potential clients you plagiarized designs and missed deadlines. The room seemed to spin. What? Why would she do that? My guess? She's trying to isolate you, cut off your income and your support system. A wave of nausea washed over me. I have to tell Direct. Be careful, Van. People like Natalie don't go down without a fight. I agonized for days about how to approach Derek. Finally, I invited him over for dinner, determined to have the conversation. As soon as he arrived, I could see the unease on his face. Thanks for coming, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Yeah, well, Natalie wasn't thrilled about it. I took a deep breath. Derek, there's something you need to know about Natalie. My mom, who had been in the kitchen, now stood in the doorway, concern etched into her face. What's going on? I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of what I was about to say. She's been sabotaging my business, and there's more. She has restraining orders from her past. She embezzled from her last job. Derek sat frozen, his face turning pale as I laid out everything. My dad's voice broke the silence, tight with tension. How do we know this is true? I pulled out the documents Marcus had gathered. It's all here, Derek. I didn't want to believe it either, but the doorbell rang, cutting me off. It was Marcus, looking grim. Van, you need to see this. He switched on the TV. There on the screen was Natalie being led away from her office in handcuffs. Natalie Williams was arrested today for embezzling over $500,000 from her employer, the reporter announced. The room fell silent. Derek's voice, when he finally spoke, was hollow. I'm filing for divorce. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Derek moved out of the apartment he'd shared with Natalie, and I helped him find a new place. Natalie's lawyer reached out, desperate for character witnesses. Please, Vanessa, Natalie begged me over the phone one afternoon. I know I messed up, but I can change. I'll get help. I stayed firm. I'm sorry, Natalie, but no, you've had your chances to change. It's time to face the consequences of your actions. As her trial approached, I threw myself into rebuilding my design business. With Natalie's sabotage exposed, old clients came back, and new opportunities poured in. One evening, after a long day of work, Marcus dropped by with takeout. Thought you could use a break, he smiled, setting the containers down on my desk. As we ate, I realized just how much I had come to rely on him. Thanks for everything, Marcus. I honestly don't know how I would have gotten through all this without you. He reached out, giving my hand a reassuring squeeze. Hey, that's what friends are for. But the way you looked at me made me wonder, maybe we could be more than friends. Months passed. Natalie was sentenced to 5 years in prison for embezzlement, and Derek started therapy to work through the trauma of their relationship. As for me, my business was thriving, my relationship with my family was stronger than ever. And Marcus and I were exploring what could become of our new relationship, taking things slow but steady. One day, I received a letter from Natalie in prison. She apologized, saying she was getting help and that she finally understood the harm she had caused. Part of me wanted to believe her, but I knew better now. I wrote back a short note. I hope you find peace, Natalie, but our paths won't cross again. As I sealed the envelope, a sense of closure washed over me. I had stood up to the toxicity, protected myself and the people I loved, and come out stronger for it. Life wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was mine. That night, curled up with Marcus, watching a movie, I realized something. I was happy, truly happy. I had faced my worst fears and survived. Whatever came next, I knew I was ready. The story of Vanessa and Natalie has come to an end, but now I have a question for you. How far would you go to protect your family from a toxic person? Would you investigate their past or confront them directly? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of survival and justice. Hey, I'm Rosalina. I'm 32 and I'm crushing it as an engineer at Technova, one of the top tech companies out there. Life's good. I just landed this huge promotion leading our new AI division. It's the kind of role most engineers dream about. I'm in my office, finishing up a call with the CEO, when my phone buzzes. It's Mom. Rosie, honey, we're so proud of you. Your father's been telling everyone at his golf club about your promotion. I can't help but smile. Thanks, Mom. It's pretty exciting. We can't wait for the family dinner this weekend. Sarah's insisting on cooking. So sweet of her, isn't it? My stomach flits at the mention of Sarah, my sister-in-law. Oh yeah, super sweet. I hang up, but that uneasy feeling lingers. Sarah, Mark's wife, has never exactly been my biggest fan. Later that week, I'm having coffee with my best friend Jen. So ready for the big family dinner? Jen asks, raising an eyebrow as she sips her latte. I groan. As ready as I'll ever be. You know how Sarah gets. Jen rolls her eyes. Oh, you mean miss, my 5th failed business wasn't my fault. Yeah, I remember. She's been acting weirdly nice lately. Right? I say, unsettled. She keeps offering to help me with things. It's off. Maybe she's finally growing up, Jen jokes, but we both know better. The night of the dinner arrives, and I'm a bundle of nerves as I pull up to my parents' house. Mark greets me at the door with a grin. There's the big shot engineer, he says, pulling me into a hug. I force a laugh. Thanks, bro. How's the new job? His smile falters for a second. Oh, still getting settled. As we walk inside, I see Sarah in the kitchen, pots and pans scattered around her. She looks up, and for a fleeting moment, I swear there's something dark in her eyes. Rosalina. So glad you could make it, she says, her voice dripping with sweetness. I'm making your favorite, seafood pasta. Thanks, Sarah. That's really thoughtful, I reply, though something about her tone doesn't sit right. As I help set the table, I overhear Sarah talking to my mom. It must be so nice for Rosalina, having everything handed to her on a silver platter, she says, her voice soaked in fake concern. I clench my jaw, swallowing down a sharp retort. This is going to be a long night. During dinner, Sarah keeps slipping in little jabs. Oh, Rosalina, I'm sure your new job is so fulfilling. Some of us have to work in the real world, though. I catch my dad's eye, and he gives me a knowing look. He gets how Sarah can be. As we're clearing the plates, she corners me in the kitchen. Rosalina, she says, her voice low, not everyone gets to be as perfect as you. Some of us have to struggle. I take a deep breath, trying to stay calm. We all have our own paths, Sarah. Your time will come. She lets out a laugh, but there's no joy in it. My time. Please, We both know you'll always be the golden child. The evening drags on, with Dad telling for the third time how he bragged about me at his golf club. And then I said, my Rosie, she's heading up the whole A division. He beams. I force a smile, noticing Sarah gripping her fork so tightly her knuckles turn white. It's really not that big of a deal, Dad, I say, trying to diffuse the tension. Sarah jumps in, her voice sugary sweet. Oh, don't be so modest, Rosalina. We all know how special you are. Mark shoots her a warning look, but she ignores him. Who wants more pasta? She chirps, already reaching for my plate. I made extra, just for you, Rosalina. Something in her tone makes my skin crawl, but I brush it off. Thanks, Sarah. It's delicious. As I take another bite, I notice Sarah watching me closely, her eyes fixed on my plate. I added a special ingredient, she says with a sly smile. Family secret. An uneasy feeling washes over me as the conversation flows around the table. But as the minutes ticked by, something felt wrong. My stomach churned and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Rosie, are you okay? Mom asked. Concern etched across her face. You look pale. I tried to stand, but the room spun violently around me. I don't feel so good. Suddenly, a wave of nausea hit me like a freight train. I stumbled, knocking over my water glass. Rosal. Dad jumped up, catching me just as my knees buckled. Through the haze of dizziness, I heard Sarah's voice, oddly calm. Oh dear, maybe she's had too much wine. The room became a blur of panicked voices and hurried movement. I felt myself being lifted. Then the cool night air slapped my face. We're taking you to the hospital, honey. Mom's voice sounded distant, like it was coming through a tunnel. Hold on. The car ride was a nightmare of pain and confusion. By the time we reached the ER, I could barely speak. Please, I gasped. Something's wrong. The next few hours were a whirlwind of doctors, tests, and growing panic. I drifted in and out of consciousness, catching fragments of conversations. Severe poisoning, unknown toxin, critical condition. At one point, I overheard a nurse speaking to my parents in hushed tones. We're doing everything we can, but you should prepare yourselves. The next 24 hours are crucial. Through the fog of pain and medication, one thought circled in my mind. This wasn't an accident. Sometime later, hours, days, I wasn't sure. I woke to find Jen sitting by my bedside, her eyes red from crying. Oh, thank God, she breathed. Rosie, we thought we lost you. I tried to speak, but my throat felt like sandpaper. Jen quickly held a straw to my lips, letting me sip water. What? I croaked. What happened? Jen's face darkened. The doctors say you were poisoned, Rosie. They found some nasty stuff in your system. Sarah's strange behavior at dinner flashed through my mind. Sarah, I whispered. The pasta. Jen squeezed my hand. I know, I've told the police, but... She trailed off. But what? I pressed, fear gripping me. Jen hesitated. Your brother, he's not being very helpful. He keeps saying you must be mistaken, that Sarah would never. Anger surged through me, giving me strength I didn't know I had. Give me my phone, I demanded. Rosie, don't. Now, Jen. She reluctantly handed me the phone, and despite her protests, I dialed Mark's number. He answered on the second ring. Rosalina? Are you okay? We've been so worried. I cut him off, my voice sharp. Mark, listen to me. Sarah poisoned me. She tried to kill me. There was a long pause before Mark spoke again, his voice cold and distant. Don't be ridiculous, Rosalina. You're just confused. Sarah would never do something like that. Stop trying to get attention and focus on getting better. The line went dead. I stared at the phone in disbelief, tears stinging my eyes. Jen gently took the phone from my hand. It's okay, Rosie. We'll figure this out. The police are investigating and the doctors are running more tests on the food samples. As I lay there, fighting to stay alive, one painful thought kept pulsing through my mind. My own family didn't believe me. But I knew the truth, and somehow, some way, I was going to prove it. The next few days blurred together, medical tests, police interviews, and the slow agony of recovery. I was finally moved out of the ICU, but the betrayal I felt cut deeper than any poison. A knock at my hospital room door jolted me from my thoughts. It was Detective Ramirez. Miss Thompson, how are you feeling today? she asked, settling into the chair by my bed. Like I've been hit by a truck, I rasped. Any news? Ramirez's expression turned serious. We've got the toxicology reports back. The levels of thallium in your system, Miss Thompson, it's a miracle you're alive. My heart raced. Thallium? Isn't that super poisonous? Extremely, Ramirez confirmed, and very difficult to obtain. We also analyzed the food samples from your family dinner. The pasta sauce was loaded with it. I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. So you believe me now? We do, Ramirez said, her voice steady. And we have enough evidence to bring your sister-in-law in for questioning. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Mark. I put it on speaker. Rosalina, what the hell? The police just took Sarah away in handcuffs. What did you tell them? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mark, are you serious right now? I almost died. This is ridiculous, he spat. Sarah would never. You've always been jealous of her, haven't you? Always needed to be the center of attention. Detective Ramirez cut in. Sir, this is Detective Ramirez. I suggest you stop talking and get a lawyer for your wife. She's facing attempted murder charges. The line went dead. I looked at Ramirez, stunned. He still doesn't believe me. Hours later, my parents rushed in, their faces pale and shaken. Mom's eyes were red, her breath hitching as she hugged me gently. Oh, honey, she sobbed. We're so sorry. We had no idea. Dad stood next to her, looking away, unable to meet my eyes. He swallowed hard before speaking quietly. Sarah, she confessed. My heart stopped. She confessed? I asked, my voice numb with disbelief. He nodded, his voice a low murmur. She told the police everything. She said she'd been planning it for months. She was jealous. Jealous of your success, of how proud we were of you. She wanted you gone. The weight of his words hit me like a tidal wave. My own sister-in-law had tried to kill me, out of nothing but pure jealousy. The room seemed to close in, the betrayal suffocating. How could someone I'd sat across from at countless family dinners, shared holidays with, and trusted, harbor such dark intentions? Days passed. My body grew stronger, but the emotional wounds were far deeper. They bled invisibly, a constant reminder of how close I had come to losing everything. One afternoon, Mark showed up. He lingered awkwardly by the door, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. Rosie, his voice was soft, strained. I don't know what to say. I should have believed you. I should have seen what Sarah was really like. I'm so sorry. A part of me wanted to scream at him, to throw him out, and never see his face again. But I was too tired, too drained to fight. I need time, Mark, I said, my voice flat. A lot of time. Tears welled in his eyes as he nodded. I understand. I'll be here when you're ready. If you're ever ready. As he left, Jen strode in with a determined look on her face. Okay, boss lady, your medical leave is almost up, and I've got some news from the office. I managed a weak smile. Hit me, she grinned. The board was so impressed with how you handled everything that they want to fast-track you for the COO position. I guess nearly dying has its perks, huh? For the first time in weeks, I laughed. It hurt, but it felt good. You know what, Jen? I think I'm ready to get back out there. I've got a life to rebuild and a whole lot of success to rub in Sarah's imprisoned face. Jen beamed. That's my girl. Now let's talk about your triumphant return to Technova. I'm thinking confetti cannons, maybe a marching band. As she rambled on, a spark reignited inside me, the fire that Sarah had tried to snuff out. I was done living in the shadows. It was time to shine brighter than ever. 6 months after the poisoning, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my blazer. Today was my first day as COO of Technova, and I was determined to make it count. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Jen. Ready to rock this, boss lady? I smiled and typed back. Born ready. Driving to the office, I reflected on how much had changed. Sarah was serving a 20-year sentence for attempted murder. Mark and I were slowly working on rebuilding our relationship, but trust, that would take time. My parents, once so proud, had become fiercely protective, almost to a fault. Walking into Technova, I was greeted with cheers and applause. Linda, our CEO, approached with a wide grin. Welcome back, Rosalina, or should I say, Madam COO. I shook her hand firmly. Just Rosalina is fine. Now, let's get to work. The day flew by in a whirlwind of meetings and projects, and by the time the sun set, I felt a strange sense of peace. I was finally where I belonged. As I was packing up for the day, there was a knock at my office door. It was Mark, standing there with a small potted plant in his hands. "Hey Rosie, I brought this for your new office," he said awkwardly. I hesitated before accepting it. "Thanks, Mark, that's thoughtful." He shifted uncomfortably, guilt still hanging between us. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm trying, Rosie. I really am." I nodded, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. "I know, it'll take time, but I appreciate the effort." As Mark left, Jen popped her head in. "Hey, superstar. Ready for your big date tonight?" I grinned, grabbing my bag. As ready as I'll ever be. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time in a long time, I was excited to live it. I was going to embrace every moment, every challenge, and every triumph. And now, here's a question for you all. If you were in Rosalina's shoes, could you ever forgive your brother for not believing you about the poisoning? Is there a point where family loyalty should have limits? Or should we always leave room for redemption? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to hear where you stand on this one. If Rosalina's story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of overcoming adversity and toxic relationships. Your support keeps these stories coming. Hey there, I'm Sapa, 32 years old and juggling a career as a marketing executive while raising two wonderful kids, Amy, who's 6, and Ethan, who's 4. My husband Mark and I have been married for 8 years, living in our cozy suburban home, complete with a white picket fence. It's a typical Tuesday morning and I'm rushing to get the kids ready for school. Mark's already left for work, so it's all on me today. "Amy, sweetie, have you seen your backpack?" I ask, a little frazzled. "Grandma Evelyn put it by the door, Mom," she answers. I sigh. Evelyn, my mother-in-law, means well, but sometimes I feel like she's silently competing with me for the title of best mom. Just then, my phone buzzes. It's a text from my best friend, Lena. "Girl, how do you do it all? You're like a supermom." I laugh quietly to myself as I reply, "Trust me, it's not as perfect as it seems." With that, I hustle the kids into the car and head off to school. Later at work, I'm deeply immersed in developing a new marketing campaign when my coworker, Jake, appears at my cubicle. "Hey Sapa, got a minute? I could use your input on this proposal." Jake's new to the team, but he's quickly become someone I can rely on. We chat for a bit about the project, and then he asks, "How's the family?" I smile. "Oh, chaos as usual." That evening, Evelyn drops by with some homemade lasagna. As she sets it on the counter, she casually remarks, "I noticed Amy's room was a bit untidy earlier, so I tidied it up for you." I feel a wave of annoyance but manage to smile. "Thanks, Evelyn. You really didn't have to." "Oh, it's no trouble," she replies with a sweet tone that has an edge to it. "I know how busy you are with work and everything." After she leaves, Mark comes home. He gives me a quick peck on the cheek and asks, "Mom stopped by?" "Yeah, she brought dinner." I say, "That was nice of her. Maybe we should ask her to watch the kids more often so you can get a break," he suggests. I tense up. "I can handle it, Mark." We agreed on how we wanted to raise the kids, I say, feeling defensive. He raises his hands in surrender. "Just a suggestion, Sapa. No need to get worked up." As I'm tucking Emmy in that night, she looks up at me with big, innocent eyes and asks, "Mommy, do you like your job more than us?" My heart skips a beat. "Of course not, sweetie. Why would you think that?" She shrugs, "Just wondering." I kiss her goodnight, but her question lingers in my mind long after she falls asleep. My life looks perfect on the surface, but I can't shake the feeling that there are cracks forming beneath. The next morning at breakfast, I notice something off. Amy and Ethan are unusually quiet, pushing their cereal around. "What's up, kiddos? You're awfully quiet this morning," I ask. Amy mumbles, "Nothing." "Are you sure? Did you have fun with Grandma Evelyn yesterday?" I press. Ethan chimes in. "Grandma said you don't like spending time with us." My heart sinks. "What? That's not true at all." "Why would she say that?" I ask, stunned. Amy looks at me with wide eyes. "Then why are you always working?" Later, I confront Mark. "Did you hear what your mom told the kids? She's making them think I don't want to spend time with them. Mark rolls his eyes. Come on, Sapa. You're blowing this out of proportion. Mom's just trying to help, he says dismissively. Frustrated, I call Lena. Girl, that's messed up, she says, clearly shocked. Your mother-in-law is playing mind games with you. I know, I reply, feeling torn, but Mark won't listen. Lena's voice is firm. Maybe you should install some cameras and catch her in the act. I hesitate. Isn't that a bit extreme? Trust your gut, Sapa. Something isn't right here, she insists. At work, I confide in Jake during lunch. Well, that's intense, he says, wide-eyed. What are you going to do? I sigh. I honestly don't know. I feel like I'm going crazy. Jake shakes his head. You're not crazy. Your instincts are telling you something for a reason. Taking Lena's advice, I discreetly install a few nanny cams around the house. It feels a little wrong, but I need to know the truth. A few days later, I'm outside when I overhear Evelyn chatting with our neighbor Karen. Poor Mark, Evelyn says. Stuck with a wife who's more concerned with her career than her family. Karen gasps, no. Sapa seems so devoted to her kids. Evelyn sighs dramatically. Appearances can be deceiving, dear. I clench my fists, fighting the urge to confront her right then and there. That evening, as I'm sorting laundry, Mark's phone rings. Mark stepped out onto the patio, but I could still hear bits of his conversation. Yeah, Mom, I know, we'll figure it out. Sapa doesn't suspect anything. My blood ran cold. What were they hiding from me? The next day, Amy came home from school with a drawing. It was our family, but I was drawn standing far away from everyone else. What's this, sweetie? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. It's us. Grandma said you might go away for work and not come back, she replied. I fought back tears. That's not true, Amy. I'm not going anywhere. She just shrugged and walked off. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers. That night, after the kids were asleep, I opened the nanny cam footage. What I saw made my heart stop. There was Evelyn, sitting with my children, her voice low but sharp. Your mommy works so much because she doesn't want to be with you. But don't worry, I'll always be here. I watched, horrified, as Evelyn stroked Amy's hair and whispered, Mommy spends a lot of time with that Jake from work, doesn't she? My blood boiled. How dare she say something like that? I fast-forwarded, my fingers trembling, and caught another clip of Evelyn with Ethan. Sweetie, Mommy might go away for a long time. But don't worry, Grandma will always take care of you. I slammed the laptop shut, shaking with rage. I stormed into the bedroom, where Mark was reading. We need to talk. Now, he looked up, startled. What's wrong? I shoved the laptop at him. Watch this. Your mother is poisoning our kids against me. As he watched the footage, his face went pale, not with shock, but with guilt. You knew, I said, my voice breaking. It wasn't a question. Mark sighed, running his hand through his hair. Sapa, it's complicated. Complicated? I shouted. Your mother is telling our children that I don't love them. Look, Mom was just trying to prepare them, he said, standing up, his voice cold. Prepare them for what? For when you leave us for that coworker of yours, he replied, the words hitting like a slap. I stared at him stunned. What are you talking about? I'm not leaving anyone. Mark scoffed. Oh, come on, Sapa. I've seen how close you and Jake are. He's a friend and a colleague, nothing more. How could you even think that? He looked away, because that's what happens. People get close at work, and families fall apart. Suddenly, it clicked. Is that what happened with you and your secretary, Lisa? His silence was all the confirmation I needed. How long? I demanded. 6 months, he mumbled. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. So you and your mother cooked up this scheme to make me the villain and get custody of the kids. My voice was shaking with fury. Mark had the decency to look ashamed. Mom thought it would be easier on the kids if they believed you'd already abandoned them. Easier? I spat. You're destroying their trust in me. You're ruining their sense of security. I was shaking with anger. I can't believe you let this happen. I didn't mean for it to go this far, Mark said, reaching for me. I backed away. Don't touch me. I can't even look at you right now. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. Where are you going? I yanked my arm free. To check on our kids, someone needs to make sure they know they're loved. I found Amy and Ethan playing quietly in Amy's room. Their little faces broke my heart. Hey, Munchkins, can we talk? They looked at me warily. Is it true you're leaving us? Ethan asked in a small voice. I pulled them both into a tight hug. No, baby, I'm not going anywhere. I love you both more than anything in this world. But Grandma said, Amy started. Grandma was wrong, I said firmly. I will always be here for you, no matter what. As I held my children close, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over. I had a fight ahead of me, for my kids, for the truth, and for justice against those who tried to tear us apart. The next morning, I called Lena and Jake to fill them in on everything. We met up at a cafe to figure out what to do next. Girl, we need to take these snakes down, Lena said, slamming her fist on the table. Jake nodded in agreement. I've got a buddy who's a private investigator. He might be able to dig up some dirt on Evelyn. I smiled weakly. Thanks, guys, I don't know what I'd do without you. Over the next week, we uncovered a gold mine of information. Evelyn had a long history of meddling in Mark's relationships, driving away any girlfriends she didn't approve of. She'd even sabotaged his college romance by spreading rumors that the girl had cheated. Armed with this, I met with a lawyer, Sarah, who reviewed everything we had gathered. This is strong evidence, Sapa, Sarah said, flipping through the files. We can definitely use this in court. What should I do next? I asked. Document everything. Every conversation. Every interaction with your kids. We're building a case, she replied. I nodded, determined. I'm ready. The perfect opportunity came during a family barbecue. Everyone was there. Mark's siblings, cousins, even his father. Evelyn, as usual, was basking in the attention, doting on the kids. I took a deep breath, bracing myself, and stepped into the center of the gathering. Everyone, I have something to say, I announced, my voice steady. The chatter stopped, and all eyes turned to me. Evelyn eyed me suspiciously. For months now, Evelyn has been poisoning my children against me. I said, my voice ringing with clarity. She's been telling them that I don't love them, that I might abandon them. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Evelyn shot up from her seat, her face flushed with anger. How dare you? I've done nothing but help this family. I pulled out my phone and, with a calmness I didn't feel, played the nanny cam footage. Her own voice, clear as day, filled the air, telling my children lies, manipulating their innocent hearts. The color drained from Evelyn's face. Mark leaped to his feet. Sapa, stop this. You're embarrassing everyone. I turned to him, my eyes blazing with fury. Oh, I'm embarrassing you? How about we tell everyone about your affair with Lisa? The crowd erupted in shock. Mark's father looked like he might collapse from the revelation. You've been cheating on Sapa, he bellowed. Mark stammered, trying to explain, but I wasn't done. And Evelyn knew. She helped him plan to take the kids away from me. They were going to make me look like the bad one. Evelyn tried to regain control, her voice shaking. Now everyone, let's calm down. I'm sure we can work this out as a family. Mark's sister stood up, her voice cutting through the chaos. Work what out? The fact that you've been manipulating everyone for years? I always knew something wasn't right with you. The gathering exploded into chaos. Mark and Evelyn tried to defend themselves, but the evidence was undeniable. One by one, family members came to me, offering support and apologizing for ever doubting me. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. I filed for divorce and fought for full custody. The nanny cam footage was damning in court. Mark lost his job when his company found out about the affair with Lisa. Evelyn's reputation in the community was shattered. A year later, I sat in my new apartment watching Amy and Ethan play. We had been through therapy together, rebuilding trust and understanding after everything that had happened. My phone buzzed. It was Mark, begging once again to see the kids. No, Mark, I said, my voice steady. The court order is clear, supervised visits only. I hung up the phone just as Lena and Jake arrived for our weekly dinner. How are you holding up, champ? Jake asked, giving me a warm hug. I smiled, truly happy for the first time in ages. We're doing great. The kids are adjusting well, and I just got promoted at work. Lena raised her glass. To new beginnings and kicking toxic people to the curb. We clinked glasses, laughing. As I looked around at my true family, my children and my loyal friends, I knew that we were going to be okay. We were stronger now, wiser, and free from the manipulation that had almost torn us apart. The road ahead was bright, and we were ready to face it together. The story of Sapa's journey through betrayal and triumph has come to an end. Now, here's a question for you. If you were in Sapa's shoes, could you ever forgive Mark and Evelyn for their manipulation? Or do you believe some actions are truly unforgivable? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective could help someone going through a similar situation. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more compelling real-life dramas. Your support helps us bring these important stories to light. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're stronger than you know.